Hello, everyone present here. Today, we are going to have another round of Inji workshop, which will include our Inji wallet module. So it's pleasure to have you all for today's workshop. We have our whole Inji team present here. So I'm Sanchi Singh, product owner for Inji, and I'm thrilled to be leading this session along with a lot of key members present from our team. And today we have joined by our principal architect, Vishwanath, our experts, technical leads of different modules of Inji. We have Swati Goyal, we have Vijay Kumar, we have Srinath and Hitesh Jain. We have our product manager, project manager of Inji, Preeti, also present here. So she'll also be taking us through a lot of things today. I'm also excited to share we have a senior leadership team with us, including Ramesh Narayanan and our who is our CTO, and Sashi Kumar, our head of engineering, as well as the whole MOSIP product team. Through whatever we have seen in the previous discussions and sessions, we have explored the core feature of Inji, which is Inji Certify, the issuance module. And today we are diving deep into the practical side with hands-on solution building for our Inji wallet, which is a holder's application, how users can use this Inji wallet and how it is practically built, which will help attendees present here and the participants of the webinar. Today's workshop will cover different integration capabilities of Inji Wallet. We'll start by demonstrating how to create an OIDC client, onboard Mimoto, configure a new issuer, and build Inji Wallet from scratch, and how you can download the different credentials. So we have picked up one use case for today, which is farmer's credential. So we are going to talk about how we are going to use farmer's credentials, what we showcased in the last demo and the workshop, that how the farmer credentials are issued and how we'll be able to download it using our Inji Wallet holders application. So there are a lot of things technically that my team will be taking you through. Finally, we are going to guide you through these components, how they work together, how they're interoperable and inclusive in nature. We also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the webinar. But to address any question between the webinar session, please feel free to drop your questions. We have our team present here. We'll be answering those questions in the Q&A drop box. Additionally, please note this session has been recorded. So later on, this will be provided as a resource on the webinar website and the Inji documentation, which will be providing the link to you shortly on the chat box. Swati and Preeti, over to you. You can take forward the session. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Sanchi. So, hi, Swati. How do you want to take the session? What are the different steps that you would be taking today?
Yeah. So basically, as Sachi mentioned, right? Inji wallet, right? So Inji wallet, we have two components known as Inji mobile and Inji web, right? So these are the two instances of wallet. Now, how they get the VC downloaded? So both are dependent on a one service, backend service, which is known as Mimoto. So we will first cover this Mimoto part, right? Then we'll see how through Mimoto we can download the VC. Okay. So yeah, so let's go through the Mimoto first. What is Mimoto and how it is interacting with wallets? So it is, as I mentioned, it is simple backend service. So obviously it's written in a Spring Boot backend service. Once backend service is exposed, it exposed through some port number, right? So the port number we are using for Mimoto is here, 8099. Now you are going to build this Mimoto locally, right? So that you can download and see the credential locally. But mobile cannot access the local host, right? Mobile will be a physical device. Then how can you access mobile, this Mimoto through mobile? So we are using free version of Ngrok that helps us to do a port forwarding. So we can expose our Mimoto port through Ngrok and access from the mobile, right? That's the one thing we are doing on the wallet side that we will see when we go through the demo. Second, in the Inji web. So Inji web is also running on your local host, is some web interface. So it is running on the 3000 port. Now, this is what we are going to cover today, but we are not going to use eSignet locally. We are going to rely the eSignet deployed on our Collab sandbox environment, right? So this Inji web has to interact with the eSignet outside our local host environment. So we get that coarse issue of interacting from Inji e-signet from the collab environment and requesting back to the Inji web. To avoid that coarse errors, what we are doing is we have written a web proxy. So basically, web can interact with the proxy, and proxy can directly go to the Mimoto and download the VC.
Okay. So, the reason why we are doing this is to ease our development,
development.
Local development. Okay, got it. Sir. Thank you.
Or if you are in any cloud environment, you don't need this Nginx and web proxy. Things can be accessed through service discovery within that cloud clusters, right? Yeah. So this is only for the local development. Now let's jump to the Mimoto, how easily it is just to configure one issuer, download the VC in this very few steps. So what I've done is, just a minute. Okay. So I have used the latest version of Mimoto. I have cloned this repo from the remote upstream. I will configure a issuer here. Okay. So let's go to the code base. So this is the Mimoto. As I mentioned, we are not using e-signet locally, right? But we have to authenticate through e-signet because e-signet is our authentication server, right? To do this, what we need some onboarding of Mimoto to interact with the e-signet, right? So the e-signet can authenticate, okay, request is coming from a valid server. So for this, we need to create a client ID, okay? That is well documented in our documentation as well. If you go inside Inji mobile, customization section, credential providers, we have mentioned the steps like how can you use onboard Mimoto as a YDC clients. So one is you can use our mock data and use our sandbox collab environment to authenticate and download the VC. Other one is you can create your own and get the things done, everything in your local setup. Okay. So for the time being, I'm going to use the e-signet from the collab environment. I have already gone through all these steps, created a client ID against e-signet on collab environment, and I have got the P12 file also configured with me. So I'll show you what is that. So let's come to this class. Okay.
Got it.
Now,
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is it is all documented, and for people, the steps are given. Even the P12 file is also there in the documentation, and they can use it from there.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Now let's create an issuer. Okay. So we have a file called Mimoto issue config.json. This is basically a trusted list of issuers for the wallet. Here we can configure n number of issuers what we want to support in our any wallet. So right now, as Sachi mentioned, we are going to take a use case of farmer. So this is the credential ID, credential issuer ID, which has to be unique per issuer. So we have named it as a farmer. This is the display property, which is being shown on the UI. Like these are the list of issuers supported. Okay. You see this title on the UI, like the Arnold farmer credentials and all these things. Protocol, you can ignore. This is just to differentiate different type of protocol Inji wallet can support. Right now, we are supporting OpenID for VC, but this is the extensible code for future. If we can extend more, then we can add different type of protocol support. Client ID, as I explained already, this is what we onboarded on the Inji e-signet mock on the collab environment. So that's the client ID we have created. And when we are creating a key pair generation, so that time we have created a client alias. That's the same thing we have mentioned here. Coming to line number 20, redirect URI. So what happens is you are using a wallet. You say, okay, download a VC, selecting an issuer. That will redirect user to the e-signet page. That's a web view gets open within the application, right? Now, once you authenticate, e-signet needs to know where to go back, right? After authentication. So this is the redirect URI for that. And that is the redirect URI we have configured in the Inji mobile wallet. Now coming to the token endpoint and authorization audience. So token endpoint is nothing but basically when you authenticate through e-signet, you need to give few secrets, right? What is your you create a JOT and proof to get the access token. But all those secrets and private keys you cannot keep in the mobile, right? So it has to route through some server. So we have used Mimoto as a proxy in between. So what happens? Wallet interacts with the Mimoto. Mimoto construct the request to get the token from e-signet and return it back. Okay. So that's why you see this token endpoint. Line number 21 is the endpoint which belongs to the Mimoto. And you could see I have used the ngdoc URL here because this token endpoint will be accessed from the mobile, right? It can't be localhost. Proxy token endpoint is the actual endpoint which is served by e-signet, which is our authentication server as of today. Authorization audience, e-signet needs to know for which audience I'm going to issue that. So that is also we have maintained here. Well-known endpoint. So we have already covered this in the last session of Certify. This is the basically this is based on the OpenID for VCA specification. It gives you each and every information about credentials supported by the issuer. How many credentials are supported, what to display on the UI for the credential type, right? What will be the claim sent in the credentials? You can even display the properties like per language, per locale. So let's say these are the credentials claims we are going to have in this credential, right? So you can configure different locales here as well. You can even configure what should be the background of your card, which you see on the mobile. What should be the text that you want to show. So all these things can be easily configured through well-known, right? Second is 25 line number is embedded VC. So this is for the Inji web, not for the mobile. This is basically to configure the entire VC into a QR code that can be scanned through a Inji verify component and you can verify. Okay. And last is just a simple features mentioned here, enable. You can enable, disable based on your requirement. So it's a configuration. So you don't need to rebundle Mimoto or your wallet to support or add or remove any support of issuers. So these are all about the Mimoto issuer configuration file.
Got it. So basically after onboarding, I need to set it up with Mimoto here saying these are the issuers and
Yeah.
we can configure them here. Okay.
So this,
What is the authentication? What is the issuance? And what is the well-known? These are some of the key things that we would have to do it here. Okay.
yeah. And one thing we have already covered in the last session, but I will again just touch that point. This is the authorization server mentioned here, right? So we are using e-signet deployed on the Collab environment. If you want to use any other authentication server, authorization server we have, it can be easily replaced through the well-known only. Okay. Yeah. That's the one thing. Second, as I mentioned, like when we generate a key client ID, that time we also need to create a P12 file. That's a secret. All the key store and the secret contains in this file. So once you generate this file, it gets locked with some key, right? So Mimoto will be consulting a token request. So it needs to read this file, right? So that file has to be unlocked. So for this, we have set a password for this file, and that is for us in this session is MOSIP123. Okay. So that Mimoto will use to unlock this password, read the data, and construct the token request. Okay. So these are the only things we need to onboard any issuer into Mimoto. One, OIDC client creation. Then you will get the P12 file and then configure the issuer. That's it. Okay. Now let's start. We have configured the Mimoto issuer. Let's see whether it's working or not. So I'm going to use the Docker Compose setup locally. So for this, all this configuration which we mentioned here, right? This config folder. These are not bundled with the application. These are we are serving from the Spring Cloud. Okay. So for this session, we have used the Nginx to serve this configuration for us because we are not interacting with the cloud. Second is this certs folder. If you see, for this session, we have built in the Docker Compose for the local development, but ideally in your cloud environment, it's mounted on the Mimoto port. Okay. So yeah. So if you see the engine, it's serving all the configuration mentioned in the config folder. And this is simply, I have built this Mimoto locally. I'll show you how to build that also. And some environment variables, which configuration we are going to load. And then volume mounting of this configuration from Nginx to our Mimoto instance, right? Yeah. So let's go to Mimoto. So one thing is Mimoto is on Java 21. Okay. So we can just confirm our Java home. It's Java 21. So we can easily build. If you want to make any changes, let's say you want to debug something, right? You need to bundle the jar, create the Docker image again. We can easily use maven command. This I have added just to fasten the process, skip the test while bundling the jar. This will create a jar in the target folder that you can see here. This Mimoto Java 21 snapshot jar, right? Once this gets created, you can directly use the Docker command, Docker build -t. I think people who knows Docker, they know what this means. This is the service name. This is the tag name. Dot is the where the Docker file exists. So this will build your Docker image. Okay. And then whatever name or tag you give to Docker image, you can directly use in the Docker Compose file. Okay. This is based on the customization you want to do in the Docker and use the Docker image locally built. If you want to use any release version of Mimoto, so when we do a release, we mention what is the Docker release images. You can directly use this Mimoto any release image. Okay. So for now, I'm just going to use locally built images. So I have this Mimoto local build. Yeah. So that's the one thing. So let's start the Mimoto. So it is started, the Nginx is started. And you can see the configuration for Mimoto is also getting started. Okay. By the time Mimoto is starting, you could see in the, I think it was using the old file. We also have to start the proxy for web, right? That will come later. So Mimoto is started. You can see through validation of issue config is also completed. For local setup, you can ignore this web sub error. These error comes for one of our very old use cases that web sub doesn't applicable for the local setup. So you can ignore this web sub error when you see Mimoto running in local.
I see that my motto is up, but how do I know that it is working?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, look, we can see it confirm in the Docker Compose also. We are running on 8099 port, right? 8099 / list of issuers. So whatever issue I configured into the code, you could see it here as well directly, right? All these things will be same. You could see in the JSON file. Yeah. And we can confirm this through Nginx also, like, so that like it will be served by mobile also. So this is the Nginx URL. I'll just put it there. It is serving the same data. Okay. Nice.
Basically, what we did is we onboarded the client, we added issuer, and then running up the Mimoto, we are able to see that the issuer is, we are
Yeah.
able to see the listed issuer. Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
What is
Now,
the next step now?
So our Mimoto backend is ready. Now we have to focus on the wallet. How can we download this issue, which we configured right now? So I will go to the Inji wallet. Okay. Inji wallet is a React Native application. So React Native support Java 17.1. Okay. So we have to check which version of Java we have. So in this terminal version instance, I have configured the Java 17. Okay. For this, it's a React Native application. So basically you can use npmi to install all the dependencies that I have already done. And then there is a command already mentioned in the documentation about build and deployment, build and deploy. It's getting loaded. So for Android and iOS, all the steps are mentioned here in detail. Okay. So that's the simple thing for build and deployment. Now let's focus on customizing the theme or any changes in the UI we want to do. First, we will start with the theme that is like makes interesting things on the mobile side. Like anyone can use any themes based on their requirement or like based on the wallet being used in which context. So basically what we have is there is a style utility file we have written. This style utility file is nothing but it says this is the theme attribute which will be referred across the application, right? So right now everyone knows like Inji wallet supports two themes, purple and orange. So that's why it's a conditional check. But if you want to ignore this, you can just ignore this environment variable and directly write default theme as well. So that wallet will support only one theme, right? But how to configure this theme? Yeah, so it's simply if you see from where we are importing it, it is from the themes folder. The theme folder you can see on the left side, right? Is simply one constant only. What you do have to do, create a new file. Let's say new theme for time being .ts. Okay. Inside this, you have to export this file so that it can be imported into components. It's simple. New theme. Okay. Simple object. Now you can write all the styles and everything here exported. So whenever I will refer this new theme, it will be referred like theme dot something, theme dot color, theme dot style, right? So that's the only thing you need to have it to support any new theme. And if you see the existing theme, default theme and all, we have so many styles based on the functionality or the pages or the UI component we have in the applications. So we are supporting this theme, some styling and the all fixed colors. We just need to change the value of these attributes based on our requirement. Okay. And for the standard one, we have mentioned the documentation as well. Like you want to change the application logo, you want to change the theme is already mentioned here, you want to change the home screen logo, you want to change the header logo, everything is mentioned here. How can you change? Okay.
Got it.
So yeah,
What we have to do is create a new file, create a constant object, and then we can have the default theme,
copy
similar
paste.
default theme, and then follow our documentation to update the specific areas that we need to change.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So for this demo, I have just created a green theme, which is new. It's the same. I copy pasted from existing theme file and replacing few colors and change. That's it. Okay. So I'm going to use green theme now. That's the one thing. Now, second thing is the locale. So we are supporting 6 locales right now, mentioned here in the documents. These are the simple 4 steps you want to do to support any other languages. Add one JSON file and use that JSON file into the I18TS and add in the these two constant resources in the supported languages. And how to use that is simply mentioned here also. This is the one hook exposed by this like a React and I18 like use translation. And whenever you use this, you have to refer that way. I can just refer to one of the locale file. So if you see, I want to use this backup and store title, right? So it will be like small t backup dot title. So you write this way, it will read this. Okay. So this will get picked up in the references. So it's that simple. So you can just add simply one more locale here and get the things done for the different locales.
Got it. And all of this is also there in our documentation.
Yes,
All
everything's
steps to
there.
follow. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
There is one more thing I just want to say in the customization, which is not very frequently used. It depends on the use cases. Workflow customizations. This workflow is nothing but basically like we are using React Native, right? React Native drives how you want to navigate a user as well through the screens, plus how to maintain that navigation in the code, right? So this we have used the React Native access state. These are the main states we have in the applications. You can use this Inji wallet the way it is today. You don't need to make any change in the customization, workflow customization. But if you have some requirement, you want to add some or change some flow in between of the user experience as well, then you might need to add the new state machine, new workflow, and everything has to be there. How to do that? It can be easily read. You can easily go through the access state setup and follow the steps mentioned in these documents. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so now we have the mobile customization done. We are also set up the localization. Basically, I can add new language support also, and we have also seen how to add additional workflows.
Yes.
Okay, what next we want to do now?
So now let's build this and try it on the mobile and see whether it's working or not. Are we able to download or do we see some error runtime? Let's see that. Okay. So to share my screen, I am using Visor just to so that I can show my connected device here. Fine. So I have already done the npm install, so all my dependencies are already installed because that takes time. So I skip that part as part of the workshop just to save some time. So this is the command already mentioned in the document as well, how to run and build for Android. I'll run this command. It will create an APK. So by the time it works, maybe we can focus on the mobile browser. Okay, Preeti?
Yes, Swati.
Let's make a minute. I'll
So
just start. Yeah.
parallelly, we want to look at the
Yeah, because APK takes sometimes 2-3 minutes now. So let's utilize that time.
sure.
So as I mentioned in the start, we are going to use a web proxy to avoid the course error. You can see we have this web proxy for here. And then we have to just go to the Inji web proxy. You don't need to make any changes. You just need to build a Docker image if you want to use through Docker, or at least you can use the npm commands, right? So you can just need to use Docker build Inji web proxy and use it. Okay. So I have already built it, but I can again rebuild. That's not an issue. Let it build. And then we can start this through Docker as well. So in the Mimoto, I'll just use this. So I'll explain all the variables also here. This is the Inji web proxy, this which I built this image locally. I'm using 310 port to export that port so that can be accessed by mobile, web. And this is the Mimoto. As both are running in the same network, they can do the service discovery directly through this port and the service name. That's it. Okay, that's the only thing you need to
Okay.
start this web proxy.
So basically, we are giving the port and the needed details for
Yeah.
the web to run.
Yes. Now let's
Swati, since Mimoto is common between mobile and web, so I don't have to onboard the issuer again. The same
Oh.
issue can be used for both web and wallet, right? I mean, mobile and web.
Yes.
Okay.
So now let's start this web proxy as I added now only in the Docker Compose. So I will go to Docker Compose. We start the proxy. How can I verify this? Just hitting this URL. It is accessible. Now I'll hit the issuer. So if you see, Mimoto is already appending v1 Mimoto, right? So I don't need to append this into the proxy server. Proxy, I'm just saying, give me the issuer. It is redirecting request to the Mimoto port. Okay. So my web proxy is up and running. Now let's jump to the building Inji web. Okay, Inji web is basically faster than building the APK. So if you see APK is still happening. So let's do that for time being. So I will go to inside Inji web folder. It's simple React application again. Okay. So let's go to this. Yeah. Cool. Now, similarly, what we see in the Inji wallet, right? Mobile side. How can you customize this? How can you change the theme? How can you change the locale? Same thing we can achieve in the Inji web as well. Okay. I'll again go through the documentation only, which is to refer later. Yeah, Preeti.
No, I just wanted to say we have a documentation from where I can refer it, right?
Yes, everything is there. If you see UI customization, we have mentioned how can you change the new theme. Okay. And as well as how can you change the locale.
Okay.
Yeah, everything is there. So I'll just follow the same steps and then you can do this. So if you see, we have this index.cs files which are serving the theme. I can just add one more theme here and that will serve it. Okay, fine. So
No.
let's see. Yeah, let's go to this file. So we have this index.css as mentioned. So we have also added the same green theme here as well. It's nothing but you have to just keep referencing of all these properties and change the value as per your theme. Nothing else, nothing fancy. Okay, so that's simple. For the locale, it's same thing. Add one more locale and add the support in the IITs. That's it. But now, how do you know I need to know this, refer to this theme, right? So what we have is, we have this env configurations. It is outside actually. Let me just open from project from the outside. Yeah. So we have this Inji configurations. Okay. Here, if you don't pass any theme, it fall back to the default theme. Default theme is nothing but this root. Okay. If you want to change any theme, you can just give and bundle it here.
Hmm.
And if you see, we have other properties as well. EN, which is the default language. the title I want to give to my wallet. And this is nothing but the Mimoto host. For the Inji web, as I explained in the diagram, Mimoto is not the Mimoto host, right? For Inji web, proxy is the Mimoto host. Proxy is connecting to the Mimoto. So that's why we have mentioned the proxy URL here, right? Cool. So this way we can change the locale as well as the theme. Yeah, Preeti, you have anything?
No, I'm good.
Cool. So let's go to there. So it's again as an React Native application. I will use NPI to install the dependencies. Let's see, my APK is ready. Sometimes APK gets stuck in the installation side. If you see, it's taking 5 minutes, but it has been built. That's why it is saying the command like installing APK. So what we can do is we can just, it failed itself. Sometimes we can just avoid this and stop the process and do manually. Okay, so how you can do it? So let's see where the application, this APK get installed. So this is the path, Android app build outputs, debug, sorry, resident app and debug. Okay, so if you see, these are the different versions gets created. I can maybe try to show the timing as well. So let's so Android app build outputs APK resident app debug build. So all the builds are here. Time is today modified is 5:31 only, right? All the APKs. So we use the universal APK which gets compatible to install different versions of devices. So I'll just use the ADB. I will check whether my device is connected or not. It is connected. I'll switch the device also. And I will use ADB install the command. It is nothing but the path of the APK. Now it will install the application.
Okay, so our APK was, we were building the APK, now it is built. Using ADB, we want to run it and see how it is working.
Yeah. So it is installed successfully. You can see the message here. I can see the Inji also installed here, right? And as we all know, we have changed the theme to green. So that's why you will see all the green color here. Okay. So let's navigate through this. I'll just skip, forgot one point. I'll just cover that also quickly. I've covered the customization part, everything, right? But I miss telling you how in mobile is interacting with the Mimoto, right? So here also, we have this env file, right? This is the Mimoto host. So I've configured my ngrok server URL so that mobile can interact with it. These are the default thing like default application theme, default language. Everything is explained here. Okay. And what is this Google Client ID? So Inji supports backup and restore feature, right? The backup and restore feature requires creating a client on the Google Play Cloud. So that we have created and it's a secret. So that's why it's not exposed in the document on the code as well. But how to create a client on the Google, that is already documented in our documentation. So you can go here in the build and deployment step itself. Go to Inji Mobile, go to build and deploy. There is a section setting a Google API service and client ID for backup and restore. We can follow these steps. That will give us the client ID. That client ID we can use and configure here to use the backup and restore feature for the local development as well. Okay, yeah. So yeah, that's the thing I missed to cover in the wallet side earlier. Cool. So let's back to the application. So these are the setups screens. I'll just skip. It moves to the unlock method. I'll do later. I'll just set up the passcode. So don't think about this keyboard is also green because of the theme. By mistake, I changed the keyboard theme for some testing purpose. So that's why the keyboard is coming green, but it's not because of our theme, okay?
Okay. And the green theme is because we configured the default as green.
Yes, yes. Now, if you see, these are the settings, right? These are the registries, the same thing. This is the Mimoto host. So you can see the ngrok same URL here. Okay, cool. Now, yeah, how to download the credential here, right? So this is the plus icon mentioned here. Tap on the plus to download the card. So this is the farmer credential. If you want to see whether it's the same thing which we could see on the API and all. So if you see, title is download farmer credentials, download credential with your farmer ID. That is what you can see. It might be little distorted UI because of visor is showing that, but that's the same thing. Then farmer credentials, that is served by the well-known endpoint. So if you click on this well-known, it is giving you the display property, which tells what type of credential type name I have to display on the UI. What is the logo? Logo is also mentioned here.
Basically, the issuer is telling how the issuer has to be named and what is the logo.
Yeah. Farmer credentials. I'll use credential which I have configured. Yeah. So it is authenticating and now downloading a credential. So it will download the credential and display based on this order defined in here. In the details page, you will see the same order. And this background, you see some background image that is also defined here in the well-known background image. If you can see in the background of the browser,
So
this background is
the
mentioned here.
issuer is telling us how it has to be displayed, what is the background image, and what is the order in which the claims have to be displayed.
So yeah, so basically this is what you see on the farmer side. Okay. Now it also has the QR code, right? This QR code can be verified. So we can use either a upload feature or the scan feature. Let me just try out the scan feature. So for this, we can directly use our Inji verify module deployed on the Colab environment. So this is the host of the Colab where all the applications are listed. Inji verify, you can go here and let's try the scan feature. I'll just disconnect the phone for time being because the wire creates a problem sometimes. I'll scan this QR code. See, it's so simple. You scan the QR code, that is verified. And now if you want to see the upload feature, that I will explain through Inji Web. Okay. So this is what we could see in the Inji mobile preview.
Okay. Thanks, Swati. Then basically we have been able to build the APK, run it, and able to download one VC and scan it through the Inji Verify.
Yeah.
So now
Now,
do the similar things on Inji Web.
yes. So let's start the Inji Web. So it is starting 3000 port. This is the home page of the Inji Web. If you could see, we have changed the theme to green. So you could see this button as a green, some icons which are SVG image also in the green on the top right, this language icon and all. So let's click on this. It's the same Agrovitas issuer here. It's the same credential type supported here, right? It will again use the same thing. We will download the same credential here. Everything is same. It's just like two interface we have given. One is mobile, one is mobile web.
And Mimoto is same for both of them. That is
Yes.
why the same list of issuer is shown.
Yes. So downloading in progress. We have successfully downloaded the VC. You can see this VC code downloaded. Okay, this is the QR code which is embedded to verify. Now let's verify this also. I'll use the upload feature here now. This is the one I just created. If you see today, 5:43 time, it's verified, right? So this is end to end. How can you configure an issuer in Mimoto and use it on the both the platforms of Inji Wallet, both web and mobile?
Thanks for this code. So I see that from Inji Web, we have been able to configure, run it locally, download the VC and upload the same feature, upload the same verifiable credential and verify it using the Inji Verify.
Yes, yeah. Cool, yeah. So that's all about how to use Inji Wallet locally, how to build it, how to customize it, right? How to add local support, change logos, use existing features as well. So one thing I'll just point out at the end, like what we have done to simplify the process for people to try out indicators. Basically, we have onboarded one client ID, okay, that people can use and configure into their own system. So let's say they have some issuer provider, right? But they want to use our authorization server e-signet, so they can directly just use this exposed one. And it's simple, like just I mentioned this in the well-known, and it will redirect user to the collab, and they will authenticate and then get the data from their own data providers. That how to do that was already covered in the Inji certified session. How can you use different data providers and use the plugin to write that. Cool. I think then we are good
Yes,
for we can
open for
question. Yeah,
questions. Yeah.
I will stop sharing so we can discuss the questions either on the chat or maybe if somebody has some question.
We are open for Q&A. So if there are any questions, feel free either to put it on the Q&A session or raise the hand if you want to discuss further.
There are questions coming up, so many. So let's take one by one. How is the credential validation happening? Okay. So Kiran has asked this question. So basically for credential verification and validation, we have written a library. So we have not covered this in this session. We were thinking to cover a separate session for all the libraries we are writing. So this is the VC verifier library we have written. It is very validating and verifying the VC as well. So I think, Kiran, if I understood your question correctly, the validation and verification, you mean like is the proof which is being like passed as part of VC response is valid or not? All the credentials data we get in the credential response, right? The context, the credential subject, and the proof section, all these are valid or not, right? So whether credential is expired or not. So all these things is done through this verifier library written by us and integrated into mobile and web both. Okay. Next is VC following W3C data model? Yes. We are following W3C data model 1.0 and we are working towards supporting 2.0 as well now. Can we demonstrate the OIDC client onboarding and P12 flying connection? Okay. So I think let's take it little towards the end so that we can answer the question. So that was already covered during previous session, but we will just walk through quickly also here. Okay. Somnath, we'll do it. So Kiran has one more question. Also, when the farmer ID was entered to download the credential, how is authentication with the end user happening? I'm not getting that part. How is the authentication with the end user happening?
Swati, I think the question is on the e-signet KBI auth, maybe. That's the question.
Maybe. I mean, which one did you get that question? Like how the authentication with the end user happening? Are we saying how are we knowing what are the farmer ID we are entering that is related to the VC credential? Maybe if can we unmute Kiran and maybe ask this if possible. Vishwa, I was asking a question about Kiran, right? Like he has mentioned about he or she, sorry, I don't know. Sorry for that. Yeah. How is authentication with the end user happening?
Okay. So this particular use case, we use a authentication mechanism called KBI, which is knowledge-based identification. So this is supposed to be used in a very low assurance use cases where we don't want to be 100% sure that user is indeed involved in this. But this is more of a retrofitting option that is available for authentication that can be used for downloading some low assurance use cases credentials. But if you're asking me, is it wise to use it for kind of national ID kind of a credential? It's not a wise thing to use. But this is just an option that is available in our system today. We also have other authentication mechanisms as part of eSignet and Inji Certify, which are all OTP and biometric based as well. So today's use case demonstration was done using the knowledge-based identification, where you saw the farmer ID and some details of the farmer is given to download the credential. Swati, is it possible for us to show the other mechanisms, authentication mechanisms somewhere?
Okay, so this I was just showing this also. When you create a client ID, that time you can configure what kind of authentication you want to support, right? So Vishwa, you were asking if do we have anything? Let me just check on the collab environment once. Okay.
Yeah, somewhere in the e-signet, if we can just show them the options that is available. So we can tell them based on the use case and the assurance that is required, the authentication factor can be decided by the issuer.
Okay. So let's go there. So if you see, this is the e-signet code. So you can use sign in with the e-signet, right? So here you will see all this supported authentication method, OTP, that what Vishwa mentioned, biometrics, and the login with mobile. Okay. So this gets created when you generate a client ID, right? That time you have to specify the ACR that drives this information. So if you configure the knowledge also, you will get the knowledge based authentication as well here. That's what you want to do, so right, Vishwa? Okay, cool. So this is done. What is the next question we have? How can one configure data model or ontology for new verticals such as digital travel credentials based on the ICAO standard note VC? Vishwa, do you want to take that question? You are on mute, I think, for speaking. You are on mute, sorry. How can one configure data model or ontology for new verticals such as digital travel credential based on the ICAO standards, not VC?
Okay, Swati, I can take this. Currently, what we are supporting as a credential format or a credential profile, you can call it, is only the verifiable credential of W3C data model 1.1. We are also working on supporting data model 2.2, and there's also some work going to support MDoc MDL. So these are the various things that we have prioritized. So to come to your question, the ICAO VC would be a customization in the code, but it follows the same protocol. Most of the code will be same, but some areas that needs to be customized to follow the ICAO standard. And if the model fits into the OpenID for VCI flow, then the respective customizations will be very simple for us to include. So, but it's not supported out of the box. It's going to be a customization in the models, modules like Inji, Certify, and Wallet. So for all these places, it doesn't understand the new credential type. I believe ICAO standards will be a new travel credential type, which needs to be added as in support into all these three modules for the end-to-end functionality.
Cool. So that is done. Okay. So let's moving to the question by Dave. Is it required to use Inji wallet with Inji certify and verify, or they can stand on their own? Okay. So yeah, so every module is independent. You can only use Inji certify if you're interested on the issuing side. You can only use Inji wallet and configure your own issuers into that. And how can you do that? It's again that simple thing. What because Mimoto is a backend for the wallet, right? So what you have to do is in the Mimoto issuer configurations, you can have your own issuers, right? Based on this means it is instead of Inji verify, you can have your own issuers well known, whatever issuer you're using instead of certify. Okay. But you have to follow the OpenID for VCI standard. Similarly, there is no need to even use the e-signet as authentication server. You can have your own authentication server as well. It's just like in our ecosystem, we are offering Inji as a credentialing stack completely. So we have all the modules, including wallet, which is the holder, issuer, which is the Inji certify, and the verification, that is the Inji verify component. And our code is interoperable. So any verify component can use Inji wallet and verify the VC generated. That's the thing we are working towards and achieving as well up to some extent. There might be some scenarios or cases where verification is not happening. Then we will be good and happy to see those scenarios and check what's the wrong happening. Then we can even enhance the support for that. but we are looking for interoperability from wallet side. Any issuer can issue or any verifier can verify the VC. I hope it answered the question. Let me just go to the next question. Is credential whatever we are giving is dummy data? Okay. So it's not the dummy data. It basically what is happening is we have created a client ID, right? And then the farmer ID, we have created a farmer ID into the e-signet system so that it can authenticate that user, right? And for the same farmer ID, the data exists in the database. It's something like you can say, I want to issue an educational certificate, right? I have a roll number. So that roll number will be either serving through some database or something will be there. Maybe let's say Excel sheet, suppose, right? Just take an example. So I want to use the KBI authentication, which we showcase now. You can enter your roll number, you can enter your first name or date of birth and download my education certificate on the mobile wallet. So for that, certify basically interact with the database. Okay. Whatever entry you see on the UI, that gets verified through e-signet, which is the authorization server. And once it authenticates, the certify queries the database, get the data, convert into VC and give it back to the wallet. So you can see maybe for the demo it's dummy data, but actually it's kind of a live DB you have in the background, which is the Postgres DB in our case. It's, right? Yeah. So that's the answer to that. Where the wallet is stored, Sagar has asked this question. So I think wallet means he's referring to the credentials, right? So on the mobile side, credential is stored within a, like a, what you say, the local storage of the mobile device. It is encrypted. Okay. So no one can just see the plain text if of the VC as well. And when you go to the background and reload the applications, you see the VC again back from the storage itself. So it's a local storage within the mobile application. And to encrypt and decrypt it, we are using our own library known as Secure Key Store, which it helps to generate key pairs and keys for the encryption, decryptions, and other things. So this is being used for that key store management. Okay, let's answer to that question. So let's, I think for another one, Sachi is typing, so I'll skip that part. So there's one more question, Vishwa, that is about, thanks for verify what is trust model and who can verify trust and not trust. So I'm not able to understand that, like for the verify.
Okay. Sanjay, I'm assuming the trust is the credentials from what all issuers do we trust. So I'm assuming the question is on what all issuers we as a verifier can trust, right? So right now we are just having a workaround for this to have it in a trust list as a configuration, which is taken in by Inji Verify to identify the wallets that we trust and the issuers also. But we in our roadmap, we have a plan to also work on a trust framework, or we will identify some good trust frameworks, and there is a plan to integrate. But all those are going to come only in the future. Since it's on the trust, I also see Sasi in the call. Sasi, would you like to add on the trust model part, how we are envisaging?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of new things coming up in the market right now. There is a framework from Glyph and GAN networks, which have come up now, wherein you could have a decentralized trust registries, and you could define some level of trust there. There is also work going on with the governments to see how much the governments could also enable trust registries. So it is in its initial stage. There is multiple things coming up. While we are not going to be choosing one versus another, we would pretty much integrate everything out there, because it is a decentralized mode and it will continue that direction. While the government as a regulatory body may need certain times to verify some level of trust and put out that information. So we are doing both of it. As of now, as I said, there are two common protocols. One is BLEI, and which is used by Glyph and GAN networks. And the other one is DEDI, which is being promoted within India for decentralized directories. So we will do both of it. As of now, trust is just modeled as you pre know the keys of the issuer, then you can put that information within our system. That's how it's modeled. Well, that's not the best, but that's what we are starting with. Yeah.
Thank you, Sasi.
Thank you. Swati, there's one more question. Please, can you show how Inji web configuration with Mimoto? How do we connect?
Sorry, I was speaking on mute. Yes. So for Inji web, right? Let's go to the Inji web code base again. So Inji web, for the local setup, as I mentioned at the start, we are using web proxy, right? So web proxy is interacting with the Mimoto. So Inji web needs to know only about where the proxy is running. Now let's go to the proxy code. So how the proxy knows what is the environment of basically Mimoto host. So if you see here, I have mentioned Mimoto as our local dev environment, right? But I have not used that, right? I have used my locally running Mimoto. So basically I have overridden this Mimoto host from the Docker Compose environment variable. So here the proxy is interacting with the Mimoto service running on 19 port, and then this is the context path of all the APIs interacting with the Mimoto, right? So proxy is running on 3010. Proxy is talking to Mimoto, and Inji web is talking to proxy only. So Inji web is saying, okay, reach out to the Mimoto through proxy. That is for local development only. But once you're in a cloud, everything is deployed in a one cluster. So you can just access Inji web Mimoto directly through the service discovery in the Inji web. You don't need to even expose outside as well for some things. Something is internally needed, or you can also export through the API. Okay, so yeah, that's on the Inji web interaction with Mimoto.
Swati, when so this is because of the local Docker setup, correct? Where we go through proxy. In the actual run between Inji web and Mimoto, so it is just this configuration where you pointed to the API.
Yes,
correct?
you can, let's say for our collab environment, we have this host export for the Mimoto. So it will be like V1 Mimoto. That's it.
Okay. Hope that answered your question, because previously there was a similar question and I gave a text answer. I hope this clarifies.
Thank you. Okay, there was one more question, but I see Sashi is typing the answer.
Okay. Okay. So which version? There's one more. I'm just going from bottom because I see from top people are answering. Which version we can use for local setup and link for repositories? So basically, okay, let's share all the repositories mentioned here. We are on the latest version of Inji. In the showcase, I have used the latest version, which is about to release, but you can use the only released versions for the stability side. So I will just share all the links here. This is the Mimoto repo. You can directly refer to the main branch, which is always up to date with the latest release, or you can directly go to the release tag, which is mentioned in the release section. Okay, so this is the Mimoto, and then we have Inji web as well. You can use that also. And then for the wallet, we have mobile, we have wallet Inji wallet. That is for the mobile. All other repos, if you are referring to certify and all, you can directly just go to the MOSIP organizations and see other repos also that we already showcased in the last workshop, the Inji certify. Yeah, so that's about it. What is the scope to combine biometrics, face scan along with VC inside Inji ecosystem, and what libraries are available? So biometrics and face scan during the VC download, or so face scan or it is after the download and when we do VC sharing, maybe. So I can just answer like first what we have today currently. So once you do a VC share, right? So somebody has asked about, we have mentioned about offline VC sharing as well. So how it happens, like I'll just show you through the application only. Yeah. So what we have built is we have built the verifiable capability also in the Inji itself. If you go to settings, you will see the option receive card and a received card. So you can have two instances of running Inji on different devices. One can act as a holder, another one can act as a verifier. So if you click on receive card, it gives you the QR code to scan. Suppose this is the verifier side. Okay, you are seeing this received card option. Now let's say you are on the wallet side. So wallet has an option called share, which does nothing but scan that QR code. Once you scan that QR code, okay, the wallet display all the downloaded VC to be shared. During that downloading sharing the VC, it asks you the option authenticate through face verification. It means the person who is sharing the VC, right? And then after doing the face verification, the face is getting matched with the face of the VC. So currently in this demo, we don't have a face if you see in the VC, because we can't generate that big QR code containing the VC, face on the mobile side. So that's the ongoing feature where we want to embed everything, including face also in the QR code. That's not supported right now in the Inji wallet. That will come soon. But once you have suppose this face is there and you want to share the same VC, so you can scan the face, verify the face through the VC, and then only can share it. So that also add that security, like no one can share your VC without your presence. So that is like offline BLE as well. So this is the one which I am showing here. It's an offline VC sharing through BLE.
Also on the face, Swati, if you could show the place where they can actually add in, if they have a SDK, they can add in.
So, okay. So right now we have integrated with the Iris Scan SDK. So I'll just first go through the maybe specifications, what we have exposed there. So this is the face SDK specification. So we are using Iris Scan SDK. So they have exposed one endpoint which says configure, where you can configure whatever the prerequisites to do the face verification. And then you can use the face compare function API interface exposed, where you want to send whatever is the current image captured and what is the VC image you have. That does the comparison give you whether it is matched or not based on some threshold. What is the threshold? The threshold is part of your configurations. Okay, let's see how to integrate that in the code simply if you want to replace it. So I'll show this is the, because we have React Native application, so we have used the NPM module to use it for Android and iOS both. So this is the React Native version of Iris Scan we are using it. Okay, and it gives me a model file which is a like train data. Okay, the train data is part of here. If you see this T flight, and how we are reading this and at what state, let's show that also. Sorry, it's in both TS, I think. Yeah, so if you see initialize phase model. So let me see who is initialize phase SDK model. Yeah. So once you land on the application first time after installation, what we does is we keep, earlier it was part of our file server. Now we have bundled it through the application only. So it was basically you have to initialize your face at the start of the application only. So here what we are saying is create the configurations. This is the configurations we have created for this SDK. And then it basically configure and download this asset. So what we are saying is earlier it was part of the API, now it is bundle application. So if it's successfully initialized, it will give us the successfully initialized, the way it will initialization will fail. If initialization get fail, it means your face verification will not fail. Okay. Oh, so it will not pass. So that's the one thing you can use this like you can integrate any SDK you want, but it has to be in this flow. In the auth TS, there is a function called initialize face SDK model. It can be either bundled within the application or through some API that you can make changes accordingly. Once you do that, at what level we do the face verification? Okay, so it's like I as I mentioned during the VC sharing. Okay, so VC sharing is happening through share machine, request machine, or receive. Just give me a minute. Request on the verifier side, scan machine. Yeah. So in the scan machine, Let me just do global search, so it will be faster. Face scanner, face compare is used. Yeah. So because we are using React Native, this access state now, so it is achieved through event. So face compare is there. Yeah. So capture image is used somewhere. So someone will be sending some event, right? So handle face detected, not liveness check. This one face compare. Now this face compare. Just give me a minute. I'm just going through the entire code just to explain you better. It will come through scan machine only. We send some events. Connecting scan, not VP sharing. Connecting is OpenID QR code. Send sharing VC start event. Not show QR, not this. Send sharing. Use OpenID QR code. This one. Connecting, start connection. And starting connection in progress. Target is in progress. Let's go there. And selecting VC, we are selecting the VC. That's why I mentioned we scan the QR code, we select the VC. So we are here selecting the VC. After selecting the VC, it will ask for the verification. Yeah, selected VC is there. Now, once you go to this action, right? So it will be in the scan action. So that is done. Fine. So verify and accept request. So this is basically sending by someone this event. So let's see who is sending this event. So scan machine is listening to this event. Fine, but who is sending that? This is here. Yeah, so if you see here, this is the UI, right? So on the UI, you see a VC has been selected. So there is an option which says button scan with the face verification. When you click on that button, that verify and accept request gets triggered, event gets triggered, right? So that will be listened by your scan machine. And it will go to this page, face verification consent. When you are in this state, we will be exposing this state from the controller that enables the face scan screen. So somewhere we will be using face scanner through some condition. Okay. So if you see, there will be some conditional here, like credential exists, and then only use this verifications. So if you verify identity overlay, so somebody will be using this verify identity overlay to run conditionally. So it is still in the scan screen, and the conditional will be somewhere mentioned through the controller. So these are the steps. Like scan screen is basically for the scan flow, and the face scanner just to display that, capturing the, opening the camera, capturing the face, and giving the control back to the machine. So once you get into the machine, it comes like this. Consent is given. Let's say we show a dialog whether you like accept the user consent, like we are capturing your photo. And once that's done, it goes to verify identity. And verify identity basically opens the face scanner page, open the camera, scan the face. And when face is verified successfully, we send this face value event, and it starts sending the VC to the receiver side. So that's the end-to-end flow. Basically, you have to first load the face SDK modal at the start of the application. Then through the sharing flow, wherever you want to use that feature, that is exposed, UI exposed through face scanner TSX file, and the state machine is managed by the scan machine. I hope it answers the question. Okay, so how many questions left? Do we have much?
Thanks. I see.
Sachi mentioned to ICAO, we have answered, right? Yeah. Yeah, I think last one is the, can you demonstrate the OIDC client onboarding and P12 file creation? Okay, so I'll just go to the documentation only. File. So these are the steps mentioned here. Create new client ID, onboarding Mimoto as a OIDC client. So basically what we have done for our simplification, we have one zip file which is not uploaded here, but we can share it later as well. So this zip file is like single kind of bundle, which helps you to create a client ID and as well as P12 file out of it. Once you run that, you will get all the public key, client alias, and the key pair generation done. Once you have that generation done, you can use. So we are using our eSignet service for the OIDC, right? Because we are using eSignet for the authentication. This is the endpoint for eSignet client creation. This is the request body for the OIDC client. You can choose any name you want to give. Client name, you can choose any you want to give. Public key is one which is generated at the step number 1. User claims is basically to define which claims you want to access through this OIDC client. This auth context reference is nothing but the ACR value which defines the way of user can log in. As somebody has asked question like what is this KBI and all. So basically biometrics is you can log in through biometrics. Knowledge is you can have knowledge based information like we showcase through farmer ID, first name, last name, date of birth. Generated code is nothing but the OTP based. It can be like you can have some unique identifier like your Aadhaar number in India or some social security number somewhere, whatever you use for the credential ID, and mobile number or email linked to that number can get the OTP and you can authenticate. Linked wallet is a feature which basically allows you to log in on the relying party through eSignet. So that when I was showcasing this different ways of authentication, so you see we have this link with Inji mobile app. Basically what you can do is you can click on this. Okay, the session is expired because I've opened it for a long time. So you can sign with eSignet. You can click on this and you can scan this QR code. Let me share whether I have this open. Because this QR code is not valid for this particular domain which I'm sending. So that's why it is saying QR code is invalid, but it is scanning. And if you scan, then QR code will allow you to log into that thing. So let me just check whether that is working or not right now. But this is basically for the national identification, national identifier number. We do this wallet-based login. That is also one of the ACR we have. So Inji can offer these kind of authentications. Logo URL is the one which you see on the UI, basically this one. If you have noticed while I was downloading the VC, we could see eSignet is interacting with the Inji wallet. So that's the logo URL. Redirect URI, we have mentioned here few. So this is the fixed one for the Inji wallet, which is our application. Next, you can have n number of redirect URI depends on where you're using. So this is one of the collab environment Inji web we have deployed. And if you want to use your local setup also, so we can use that also. So I can show you for the local setup. I am running Inji web on localhost 330. So I'll just change to the where is that collection change?
So I think we're running out of time as well quickly.
Sorry. Yeah. So, yeah, Visashi.
If you have answered most of the questions, then good. I think we can continue to have communications in the community data community side.
Yeah.
Yes, Sashi. I've also shared the link here. So for any further questions, you all can reach to us through the community. Link is shared here. And the recording of this session will also be uploaded there. So feel free to access it.
Okay, cool. Thank you everyone for the session. I hope it was good. You could follow the steps.
Thank you, Swati. Thank you everyone for joining.